Welcome back to The Liberated Life. Today's conversation is about something I think is quietly shaping relationships, families, communities, and culture more than we realize: the demonization of other people. What happens when we stop being curious about each other and start reducing people to labels? What happens when disagreement becomes danger? When frustration becomes contempt? When someone stops being a human being in our mind and becomes a category? In this conversation, Nina and I explore how quickly people can shift from trying to understand each other to protecting themselves, defending identity, and dismissing one another entirely. This isn't about avoiding discernment or pretending harmful behavior doesn't exist. It's about noticing what happens to conversations and to us when we lose the ability to stay human with people we disagree with, misunderstand, or feel hurt by. I think this conversation matters deeply right now. So let's get into it. We have something interesting to talk about today. One of the things that has been on both of our minds lately is the idea of making somebody else that you know or you know of wrong, also known as demonizing someone. Nina, you have a reaction to that word demonizing. What are your thoughts about that?
Demonizing is very clear to me what it means. If that word doesn't work for a person, it also could mean villainizing someone, making someone wrong. When we judge that there is something wrong with this person and I am right and they are so wrong.
Do you know anybody like that?
Yes, it's weird because I believe that it's a natural human bias for us, like a cognitive bias. Like we tend to believe that we are right, and other people, if there's a disagreement, it means that they're wrong, and it doesn't help relationships. It doesn't help our connection with loved ones, which is why it's worth talking about.
Absolutely. And it definitely happens in the culture. And we could name names right now, and everyone would recognize the names of people that current day, we're 2026, we have all demonized. I mean, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle, if you're talking politics or if you're just talking culture in general. It could be a musician who we've demonized or a politician that we've demonized. But I'm sure there are people that I have looked at and probably still look at in culture and go, oh my gosh, what a terrible person, pure evil, right? The question actually then becomes, why do I hold that belief and does it matter and what does it actually do for me? So that's completely different than a loved one, a high value relationship. It doesn't cost me that much to think that about somebody out there that I'm not related to. But when I bring it home and I look at my personal, highly valuable relationships, that's a whole different situation, as you alluded to, Nina, when you've got somebody that you love and you've decided that for whatever reason they are so wrong and maybe morally corrupt. Who knows what you think? But I think those things happen in families more than they used to, where we just make a decision about somebody, and instead of looking at the one thing about them that we don't like, we just do this big generalization, call them maybe a name, a narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopath, a bad person, whatever. And the whole bundle is tied up with a knot. They're wrong. I'm right. They're wrong. So, Nina, I'm curious for you. Is there anyone in your life that you have recently noticed that you've demonized, that you had a shift with, or any recognition or changes about?
I love this question because it gives me so much gratitude for the work that we're doing here. And I believe that from having people skills in mind, and one of our tenets being conversation doesn't mean agreement. And I'm so happy that you helped coin that in one of your recent posts. That was with me over the weekend. And I was with a loved one who is very, very political, extremely, and not just like reactive about it, but almost like obsessed with talking about it. Where let's say, in the 80s and the 90s we had a TV and there was 10 or 12 TV stations. With this loved one, there's only one station and it's the heat about what's going on in the world.
Mhm.
It's so interesting because I'm so happy that I had such a good outing with my loved one, with my dear, it was a family member, I'll say that. Being able to separate the person from the problem and not go, okay, this person is the problem. And
Mhm.
instead of like wanting to push a person away from me or wishing they weren't with me, which sometimes is what we feel like when we feel irritated or agitated, it's just like, I don't want this, get away. It really transformed that for me in the moment, and I was able to have curiosity and also like just to honor that aspect of that person. Like, that is some passion. That person is activated. Like, I mean, that amount of energy and passion can rebuild the pyramids, rebuild society and civilization.
Wow. Yeah. Very
And
intense.
yeah, so I was like, I was a little bit in awe and admiration, and also seeing, instead of like thinking, okay, this person's just like wild and crazy and just going off the hinges. I was actually, Robin, I was able to articulate how I felt being in relationship with this person while they were doing that behavior.
How were you able to express that in a way that did not trigger your loved one?
There's something about like when you're sincere, like when you really mean it. I love you. I care about you. I'm always going to love you. And this moment right now is difficult for me because of this reason. I don't know. I almost want to say like the internal position I was in could be felt.
Yeah.
And it's weird because sometimes we say the right thing, but underneath we're not feeling it.
Yeah.
Like if ChatGPT told you to like say this and you're like, oh, I'll say this. It sounds so polite, but I don't really feel that way. I felt connected to it. I was like, well, you asked me about my birthday, and when I answered, you just started telling me about politics, and it made me feel like you weren't interested in my birthday. And so this person just like actually paused and caught themselves, and that doesn't always happen, Robin. That doesn't always happen, but that it did happen. There was just grace. There was so much grace in the conversation. And it wasn't like I had to pretend, oh, I'm just having the time of my life. I'm so enjoying this political conversation that's going nonstop, and every channel turns back to the political channel. It was like I noticed I wasn't escaping. I wasn't trying to make it go away. I didn't need to push back and say, well, this is what I believe, and I believe all these things. There was a lot of gentleness
Yeah.
and genuineness and gentleness. So it was really awesome.
You had some choices there, Nina, to either get frustrated and focus on the topic that kept coming up again and becoming more and more frustrated, I would imagine, and maybe even angry that this outing that you had planned your birthday week turned into a diatribe about whatever was going on politically, right? And yet you were able to see that that's like maybe a habitual way of being for your loved one, which is something we talk about, just a habit. This is the habit. This is the thing that I am focused on right now, and I'm just going to keep talking about it. And we all know people like that, right? No matter where you go, you keep coming back to whatever it is that's bothering them or lighting them up or making them passionate. It could be any of those things. Those conversations can be really exhausting, but you were able to see that that's not who your loved one is. It's something that they've taken on right now, something that they're passionate about. But you were also able to speak up for yourself, and your loved one was able to catch themselves and say, oh, you're right. Okay, great. So, Nina, we've been talking about demonizing somebody, and I think the big problem when it's your loved one is that it doesn't matter which side you're on. Maybe you're both demonizing each other because you don't agree about something. And I think that I mentioned earlier, I think that happens a lot. And I think it politically in particular lately, it could be social, it could be social justice, it could be politics, but there are a lot of reasons that people have chosen positions lately. That's how it feels to me. And I don't want to be in a position with my loved ones. I really don't want to be in a position because when I demonize somebody, my level of tolerance diminishes for them. I get frustrated more easily. I might walk on eggshells with them because I don't want to poke the bear. I don't want to get into a big blow up. So I sometimes think, well, is it worth it to actually make my position known with my loved one that they're wrong and I'm right? And I don't think it is most of the time. I don't think I'm going to gain anything by asserting myself. I think the thing that also goes out the door when we're demonizing somebody is compassion and empathy. It just seems to leave the room when we're in a place of judgment or demonizing somebody. It's a really, I think it's a choice. It's a choice. And so, Nina, we also want to talk a little bit about payoffs. When we demonize somebody else, call them a narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopath, an evil person, a jerk, whatever we're calling them, what do we get from believing that about somebody or saying that about somebody or digging ourselves into a position that we're going to hold that says that is the truth. That is the truth about this person. Kind of compartmentalizes. It kind of takes that person and puts them all in one thing. That they're nothing but that sociopath or that narcissist. What do you think are the payoffs when we truly put ourselves in that position of the judge?
Especially with those words that are so lit right now with narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, which not to minimize people who have authentically legitimately experienced predatory behavior by another human being. It's really convenient, and it's there are these like catch-all phrases. We all get it. If someone says that word, we're like, oh, okay, we understand. What I wrote down as you were speaking is it makes us feel like our harm is real, like the harm that we experience, the pain that we experience. It's almost like we can justify it. I don't have to stand on a mountain and tell you all the horrible things that happen. If I can just say this word, you'll connect and get it, and I won't have to go on and on about every horrible detail. Brings to the question, which you're probably already going to go to, which is for you to see my pain, would I have to blame another human being, pathologize them, make them wrong? For you to see that whatever happened behavior wise was really hurtful, really disruptive, really painful, destabilizing. There's a nuance, and it takes some discernment to see like this was my pain and this is why it was painful for me. This
Yeah.
is why it hurt so bad. It felt like this. And then it's like it has nothing even to do with the other person.
Yeah.
It gives us our own agency because it's like, wait, so would you not stand up for yourself if this person wasn't this enemy image? No, actually, I would still do the right thing anyway. I would still advocate for myself. I would still make that request. Oh, okay. So we didn't even need to go there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thinking about when we make somebody wrong like that, and we become, sometimes we take on then the victim role. Like, you did this to me, you're doing this to me. And when I'm a victim, the whole idea of being a victim is that somebody's the perpetrator and somebody's the victim. As a victim, I can get agreement from other people. Oh, he is terrible, or she's so bad, or that was so wrong. And like you said, Nina, of course, there are people that have been in narcissistic, abusive relationships. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is putting a label on somebody that says, you're wrong, you're horrible, I'm right, you've hurt me, I'm a victim. I gather agreement from everybody around me that, oh, I can see your pain. Yes, you were harmed. Now I've got everybody kind of feeling sorry for me, which is part of what part of the payoff. You get sympathy and love and concern when you are a victim. There's a lot packed into this, and we don't have forever to talk about this today. We can certainly come back to this topic, but
It goes by so fast, Robin.
oh, it goes by really fast. Nina, I just want to say I have been the recipient of being demonized recently. I can't think of a time it's ever happened to me before. Maybe in high school, jealousy stuff, painting me to be somebody I was not, obviously. But, there were rumors at one point. I was class president, I was all the things, and there was something that happened. I rejected somebody, and then there were all these stories that went wild, right? That's the only other time I can think of in my life. And that was really hard for me too. But more recently, there's been somebody who's decided I'm a terrible person and she's been vocal about it and she's been vocal about it on social media. It's very interesting to being on the receiving end because especially when I know that these are stories that have been concocted, they've grown from not even a seed of truth into something that's larger than life. And so being on the receiving end of it's tough because there is absolutely no curiosity coming towards me. Like, I'm curious, why did you do this or whatever she thinks I did? Why would you make these choices? Why? There hasn't been an opening for me to have a conversation, not even a legitimate conversation. So, what I'm saying is, when we demonize, we shut the door. We believe what we're going to believe, and there is not an opening for understanding. That's what I've experienced on my end of it. There are all of these terrible things being said and stories being written and made up, and I have no recourse. That's something that happens when you demonize somebody. You shut them down. You shut down any possibility of conversation, of empathy, of curiosity, of a safe conversation. We could even say that there is no safe conversation to be had because if I did entertain the conversation, I already know from my experience that it would be absolutely counterproductive. There would be nothing because when we demonize somebody, all we want to do is say, you did this, you did this, you. It's not a question, it's a statement against somebody. That's been my recent experience with demonization. Like I said, I've probably done it to people on stages and, big political stuff like that. I know I have. But on a personal level, it's very different when you're the recipient.
And it puts you on the defense, and it feels like war when it's like what would cause you to demonize someone is to feel like you're not safe, like to you feel threatened, like you're gonna lose something.
Yeah.
So like that to me, like what comes up next is self-regulation. And when we can be regulated with ourselves, it makes for the best conversations. We can't, there's really, I mean, what good conversations happen when we're activated, when we're escalated?
What do you mean by self-regulation?
Am I breathing? Am I in my body? Am I in the present moment, or am I reacting to something I thought happened? Am I reacting to something that happened in my past that feels very similar to this? If I don't have availability for curiosity, if I don't have availability for neutrality or problem solving, it's labels and judging.
Yeah.
It's almost like my amygdala, the part of my brain that's like saying danger, danger, danger. It's not saying we need to pack up the car and let's make sure we put everything in nice little neat boxes and we have enough space. It's saying we need to flee now, and you just throw whatever you can and you run off, and you didn't do it the best way, but you were just trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
And so there's a way that if we are regulated, we just have more access cognitively and emotionally. And I saw this actually recently. It was with Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who passed a while ago, who is the founder of nonviolent communication. And he said that when two hearts are together, until they know what each other needs, like what they're needing, they're not available to solve the problem. But when they're both in tune with each other and what each other needs, the solutions start to present themselves.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Wow, that is so amazing. It's almost like
Yeah.
if we're in tune with each other and from a genuine place of care. And
Yeah.
so I believe that's what happened with my loved one in that moment last weekend. It's no, like we really care about each other. We don't want to do, and I don't want to shut down this person's desire and genuine concern with politics, because it's not like, oh, I have boundaries, forget about it, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, no, I can talk about it, but to the point where I feel like I'm disconnecting from you. I want to feel connected with you. I want to know other aspects of you. I want to feel how you're connected with me, and we're sharing a latte together, or we're enjoying the same sunset together instead of like, hello, earth,
Yeah.
earth,
Yeah.
come back, where'd you go?
The other thing when you were talking about being dysregulated, the other thing that I remember when I was young happening to me was when somebody was trying to have a serious conversation with me, I would be thinking about what I need to say next. I wouldn't even be able to hear the entire sentence they were saying because I was thinking, how do I respond next? It was the same thing in college, right? You're in college, you're in a class and you know you're going to get called on and you're just trying to get ahead of what you think they might ask. And so you're not really, and so I remember even saying, what? Like when a professor called on me because I was 5 steps ahead of them. And it's that same kind of feeling of like, I can't be present because I am so scared. For me, it's a fear thing. What am I? I'm afraid of something. And so I'm trying to protect myself by being ahead of the curve or what they're going to say. So, yeah, being dysregulated, just not actually being calm enough and grounded enough or steady enough that I can actually hear it and understand it and pause for a moment before I give a response. But I feel like sometimes when we're in these things, it all speeds up and gets going so fast. It's hard to be present and really say what you mean. So, Nina, we're about done with our time here. There's more. Let's just talk about these couple of questions. If you're in a situation where you notice that you're making somebody you love, not whoever out there in the world, do it all you want. If it makes you happy. I don't think it's very peaceful, but we're talking about your loved ones. So if we're really wanting to be in relationship, there are some questions that you can be asking, and we'll post them in the group too. But is how I'm describing this person to myself and maybe to others actually accurate? And how do I know that? How do I know that I'm right about what I'm saying about this person? And is there any evidence that shows me I'm right or that I'm wrong about them? The next question is there a reason for me to find any common ground with this person? For example, do we have children together? Are we married? Do we work together? Are we related? Do I see this person on a regular basis? Is there a reason to let my opinion rest? And can I actually practice self-control by stopping myself from talking about them with others or thinking about them obsessively? Because a lot of times we do get kind of obsessive in our thoughts when we're angry with somebody or when we are so triggered by their behavior that it just becomes like this top of mind rant, like waiting to happen. Another question is, what would it be like if I stopped crusading against them? Because I do think we can get into the stand up for justice kind of situation with our loved ones where it's like, I'm going to prove my point. I'm going to show them they're wrong. I'm going to rail against them. And that is really a danger zone with a loved one. Finally, the big question always for me, because I have a peace. Those are my two highest values, I would say. What would I gain by ending the demonization of this person? And my question is, would I gain peace? And maybe the question is, would I regain a relationship that maybe I'm in real danger of losing, or maybe I've already lost it because of my ongoing crusade against whoever this person is. Again, loved one, somebody who you value in your life. So, Nina, we'll put this in the group with these questions in the group over the next few days, but is there anything you wanted to end with?
Yeah, I created this is we want you all out there. We want you all to feel this, experience this more. I would add to the questions is when I'm demonizing someone, what is it really that I'm afraid of losing? Or what am I feeling threatened by?
Mm-hmm.
And when you answer the questions, it's like really allow yourself to feel. If you get quiet, you get still, and you might remember a painful moment in your past where you're like, oh, I remember when da da da. And just give your listening and loving attention to that. And that is just a really important aspect.
Making someone wrong feels powerful in the moment, but it closes the door on them and sometimes on yourself. The work is staying curious when everything in you wants to be certain. It's harder and it's worth it. If this conversation landed for you, share it with someone who needs it. And if you're ready to go deeper, my book, Stop Stealing from Yourself, is coming this summer. You can find everything at peopleskillswithaz.com. Thanks for being here. Until next time, what conversation is worth your courage?